Hello guys, welcome to this fourth lesson in VueJS 3 full tutorial. And in this lesson, we're going to be looking at data, props, and slot and how to work with each one of these things. So without further ado, let's dive right in. Okay, so we can see in the last lesson we created this particular card and it's looking all nice and well and okay, good. But what if instead of me actually passing a property, okay, right here, okay, typing everything like we have right here, okay, we want to actually create some particular value right here in our script tag. I want to pass it to the template. Now that is very easy. The way we do that is, okay, I'm going to come here and this export default right here, it can take in something, okay, which is one of it is we can say data, all right, and then we can, it's basically a function, okay, so it's going to return something, okay, so it's going to return something, and here we can actually create any variable etc or any dynamic data and pass it across to our card components. And the way we actually do that is right here inside of our return here. Let me scope this in a bit. Okay, we're going to basically create it like an object, so I can say something like, okay, title, and say, okay, that's okay, new header title. Okay, so let's save that. And how do we actually use it here? Very simple. We're just basically going to have our two curly braces like this, and then we're going to say title. Okay, so this should work basically fine. And if I should save this and we should come here, so let's see what we have in our browser. We see right here new header title. So that's how we can return data, use a data dynamic data right here, and we should actually use it here. And I have to admit, I'm going to actually accept here, as I know this is not really a dynamic data, but it shows you the crux of what you could do, some of the things that you could do, how powerful this is, depend on how you think about it. Okay, so this is all well and fine, but one thing though is I'm still saying that basically everything is still having new header title, new header title. So let's give ourselves a goal. The first goal is that, okay, each of these cards should have a different title. But how do we do that when, okay, we've declared this particular variable here? What if, okay, we decide to do something like, okay, new header, okay, and I save that, that will automatically still update in each one of these right here, but we don't want that actually. So let's see how we can do that. Now the way we can actually do that is making use of what we call props. Now props is basically data that is passed from a parent component to a child component. Okay, so basically right here I can do something like data. Okay, we create that data function here, and then we return. Okay, inside of this our return statement, we're going to have, okay, title. Okay, let's say title, we have let's say new, okay, view JS lesson. All right, so let's first work with this hello world component. So we have a title right here, which is VueJS lesson. Let's first pass it right here before we actually pass it to our card component. Okay, so let's see. What I'm going to do is right here, and then I'm going to do something like, okay, title is equal to, okay, I can manually pass in something right here. So let's say VueJS, okay, stuff. And then once we save that, inside is our hello world component, okay, we can come here and then we say props. Now this props is basically going to be an array, okay, an array of, okay, the string that an array of string which basically represents each one of this prop title. So I'm going to say, okay, copy this, and then I'm going to put this inside of a string, make it a string title, and then the way we basically do it is we basically just delete this, and then we use these curly braces and we say title. Now let's save that. Okay, lang equals HTML. So let's save that and let's see if that actually worked. Okay, I don't think that's worked. Okay, it's did. So VueJS stuff. Now, one way we can actually pass in, okay, this particular one, and then this particular title that we have here, this value here. Okay, we do a bit of, okay, binding, but I'm not really going into that right now. We're going to learn more about this, so don't worry about that. Just look at what I'm actually showing you. So let's save it and let's see. That should also change to VueJS lesson. So that means if I should come right here and I change it to lesson 4 and then I save it, that should automatically update here. So I think this should give you an idea of how to actually work on this right here. So I want you to just pause this video at this point in time and try and see how you can actually achieve the set goal of changing this particular card component. The title we have here, we don't want this, so we want the dynamic title passed in as a prop. That's the first thing. And the second thing is we also want to replace the contents of this dummy content here. So let's dive right into that right now. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to pass in title, and then I'm going to say its title is going to be equals to, okay, header 1. Okay, and then I'm going to say description is going to be equal to maybe, let me just insert a dummy text. Okay, so let's insert a dummy text, and then I'm going to do this, and then lorem sum insert a line. That's basically an ender extension that I'm making use of. Okay, so I'm going to copy this, and then so I'm just going to paste it here, and you can just hold down your alt key and then click to multiple select different at different places. So let's paste this here, but obviously we don't want the same header title, so I'm going to say 2 and then 3 and then 4 and then 5, and then this is going to be new header 1. So I'm just basically going to copy this, and then I'm going to use the extension, and then I'm going to say insert another line. Okay, so let's do that. Okay, insert a line. All right, so I'm just basically going to do that and insert a line. So that's basically going to insert another line here, and this and this. Okay, so now let's see how we can actually use that right here. Now the first thing is I'm going to remove this data right here, and what I'm basically going to do is I'm going to say props, and then that's going to be an array. So the first is going to be title, and the second is going to be description. All right, so let's save that, and then right here we're going to have title, and then right here we're going to remove all of this, and we're going to have description. Okay, so let's save that, and then right here also I'm going to save this. Now let's come back to our app and let's see what we have. So we can see that dynamically changed everything. Okay, so we have header 1, we have header 2, and then we have header 3, we have header 4, we had header 5, and we have new header 1. And we can see all of the content are actually dynamic. So when you try that out, did you actually get it? If you did, thumbs up to you. Okay, so this is actually great and nice, but what if we actually want to do something a bit more complex? Now we are passing in a string right here. What if we want to actually pass in an array? Now one thing you should note is we can't pass in an array just doing this. Okay, we can only do it data binding. Okay, let me give you an example of what I'm talking about. So let's say right here we have 1 2 3 4. So we have an array which we created 1 2 3 and 4. Let's save that, and let's see. You see it's going to basically render this as a string and nothing special, but we know this is an array. So basically the way we do that is we basically put a column in front of this title. So this is now a dynamic value. Okay, and VueJS now recognizes that. Okay, so if I should come here, okay, this still renders it out here, but if I should come right here and I should do something like, okay, let's say title, and then we say 0. All right, and let me just comment the remaining of this component out. Okay, so I'm going to save that, and I'm going to also save this. So let's see. we should see that give us 1. Okay, so basic JavaScript selection, and we can see if I should put 1, and then we should see that change to 2. Okay, so we can see how we are how we can pass in more complex data types, etc. But how about something a bit much more complex? Okay, so let's say we have, I'm going to create a new component, and that new component is going to be, let's say, layout. Okay, so layout component dot view. So let's use that, and then remember our magic words. It's not stupefy from Harry Potter, but viewing it, and then boom, that basically is just magic. All right, so I'm going to make this HTML. Okay, I love doing this. Okay, JS. Okay, and then let's see, what we want to do is we want to have a kind of component which would automatically have header and footer, so I can wrap around all of my other components. And let me show you what I mean. So let's say I just come and I paste in this food mood which I showed earlier. Now it will be a pain for me while creating all of my components. Okay, every particular page I should create all of these, okay, menu and footer. And when part of what a component based approach is okay, reusability of our code, so I basically have a kind of a layout a layout component which automatically has the header and footer, which I just wrap around everything, and my life is easier, and then I'm safe from duplicating and writing the same code all over and over again. So let's do something like that. So basically I'm going to have a layout component which is going to have a paragraph and says header, and then it's going to have something that says, okay, footer. All right, so let's save that and let's bring in the layout component right here. So I'm going to say layout component, and then all right, so that should automatically import it, but I don't think it is. So layout, okay, so layout component, and then let's see, so it didn't import that, so let's do that manually. And then so I'm going to say layout component. All right, I think um that's because of this. Okay, let's add the name, and then we're going to make the name layout component, and then view. Okay, let's do something like that. Okay, now right here, let's try and import it, and let's see if that will work. Okay, that still didn't work, so let's manually import it right here. So I'm just going to copy this, paste this here. Okay, and then paste this here. Okay, so then register this layout component view. All right, so let's save that and let's see what we have. Okay, has been registered but not used. Oh yeah, that should be layout component view. Okay, so let's save that and let's see. Okay, so we have the component which shows header and footer. All right, so what if we want to do something like we want to actually input, okay, maybe a particular HTML tag or something. Okay, so like I mean we can input, okay, maybe for example these are card components. Let's restore our card components to the way it should be, and then okay, I'm going to say this is header 1, and then okay, we want to input put this our card components here. Okay, so card component, and then save. Let's see what that gives us. Okay, that's not giving us anything. Now the way we do this in Vue is something called slot. So slot basically would recognize that okay, we have a component inside of this. Okay, let's render that component out instead. So the way we'll do this inside our layout component is I'm just basically going to say slots. Okay, so slot. All right, now let's save that and let's see what we have right here. Now we can see this particular component, we have header and footer. Now let's come back to our code here. Let's comment this out. Okay, so if we should come right here, we're going to see every component automatically having header and footer. Okay, so it wants us to make sure we're using the component, and which is fine. All right, so let's come right here and let's add a bit of styling. I'm going to say class equals to header. Okay, and then we're going to say class equals to footer. So what I'm basically going to do is I'm going to say, okay, the header. Okay, sorry about that. And then we want it to have, okay, background color of red. No, let's use black. And then we want to have it to have a color of white. And then we want a padding of, let's say, padding of 20 pixels. Okay, that should be padding. Okay, so let's do that also for the footer. And don't forget to add your CSS. And all this error that I'm getting is basically because of I actually accepted used slint earlier. So you might decide not to use that, but I think it actually helps at least keep warning and track of code. Okay, so we can see it added header and footer right here, and this is the header one. So I can reuse this with any other component. Okay, so I can bring this, okay, hello world component here, and I'm just going to duplicate this and then instead put my hello world component inside of here. So let's see what that will give us, and then we're going to see right here hello world component. Okay, we see the header and footer being rendered. Okay, and then inside of here, instead of rendering maybe a normal text or a default template, we can render put in a custom template. We can see how this could be actually useful. Okay, so the last thing I want to show you is something called name slot. So let's say we have a particular uh component here, and we also want to add right here, okay, footer, want to have maybe a div, want to have another component inside of this layout component also, and then we want to say, okay, this is going to be, okay, an attribute. Okay, let's say and copy maestro. Okay, so let's save that, and we will see that this also renders as in a slot. But what if we want to actually do something else? We can, okay, let's say for example, instead of it being here, we want it to render after the footer right here. One way we can do that is name slot. I'm going to say v and then slot. Okay, so I'm going to put this slot, and then I'm going to put something like, okay, oh sorry, this is our mistake. So we are going to actually put templates here. All right, and then let's write that again, and then I'm going to say v slots. Okay, and this is going to be let's say after footer. Okay, so we have our v slots right here. Okay, our custom slot, which is name slots. Okay, I think let's just copy this and let me paste it here, and then I'm just going to do something like, okay, after footer. Okay, so basically we are binding this right here and giving this a name here. So let's, okay, normally by default structure after footer, let's put it underneath. Now coming to our layout components, now this is the default slot we have here. Okay, and then we can actually do something like this slots. Okay, so let's bring in slots, and then let's do something like, okay, name equals to, and then after footer. Okay, let's save that and let's see what we have. Okay, is that showing up? Okay, we can see it right here after footer. It shows up after the footer. And another thing about slot is you can pass in a default value. So let's say this no, okay, let's do something like no component added. Okay, so I'm just basically going to save this, and then I'm going to remove this component we have right here, and then let's save. So we see it's going to show this, which is no component added. Okay, so coming back here, and then if we should paste this back, bring this back, it's going to render the component. So in this lesson, we've been able to once again look at how to return a data, okay, how to pass in a prop and register that particular prop in a component. And then thirdly, and very importantly, we've looked at, okay, slots and named slots. So in the very next lesson, we're going to be looking at how to handle events in VueJS. I'm going to see you there.